Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. The show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Saturday, June 15th, 2019. This is episode 1600. Enjoy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. We got your smartphones, we got your smart watches. We got all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number if you want to talk high tech. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Anything that's on your mind we could talk about. If you've got problems using technology, sometimes people call, a lot of times people call and apologize. Say, I don't understand what you talk about on the show. But help me, Obi-Wan. And I don't, I feel bad if you don't understand what we're talking about on the show because I try to make it English, but I know sometimes I lapse into geek speak. So if I do, please, it's okay. It's okay. This show is designed for you, not for people who understand geek speak. It's designed for English speakers. So you can call and ask about stuff. And I think also sometimes people think I'll mock them for not being wizards. No. You don't climb to the mountaintop to see the wizard, and then the wizard says, "Oh, you're not a wizard." The wizard's glad you're not a wizard. Gives the wizard work, something to do. 8888 Ask Leo. I'm a little nervous because I saw back-to-back headlines that scared me a little bit. First, in the New York Times, U.S. escalates online attacks on Russia's power grid. What? Did you know there's a Cold War going on? I guess probably people did, but in interviews over the past 3 months, the Times says, officials, unnamed current and former government officials, described previously unreported deployment of American computer code inside Russia's power grid and other targets. John Bolton, the National Security Advisor, President Trump's National Security Advisor, said the U.S. is taking a broader view of potential digital targets as part of an effort to say Russia or anybody else that's engaged in cyber actions against us, you will pay the price. Okay, you might say, oh yeah, that's fine. That's war. But then in Ars Technica, hackers behind dangerous oil and gas intrusions are probing U.S. power grids. It's going both ways. So there's a new malware out there. Security firm Dragos, security firm. I love these names. Dragos reported on Friday that this new malware, which we've never seen before, Dragos has labeled it the world's most dangerous cyber threat. What? It's called Triton or Trisis. It's being used to attack the U.S. Industrial facilities, probing dozens of power grids in the U.S. And it's everywhere. See, the reason I find this disturbing, how would you feel if the grid went down, not for a day, but for a week or 2 weeks or a month? What would happen in major cities across this country if power were out for a month? Wouldn't be good, would it? Be kind of a disaster. Be kind of crazy. And there's always been in the tensions between international powers, there's always been a kind of forbearance, because the problem is if you do it, then they will do it. That's why we have rules against things like chemical weapons. After World War I, the Geneva Convention banned the use of things like mustard gas, because if they do it, then it's easy to do and you'll do it, and then it's awful. It's disastrous. See, I think sometimes people think, well, war is war. You should be able to do anything you want, anything you can. Yeah, but if the other guy can do it, then you maybe want to hold back a little bit. And it makes me extremely nervous to see that the Russians are invading our power grid. We're invading their power grid. And, yeah, somebody's telling me that on Coast to Coast, George Norrie's always worried about EMPs, neutron bombs and EMPs. These are the electromagnetic pulses. A atomic bomb exploded at height to destroy the electronics infrastructure. That is the risk of that, by the way, highly overplayed. You can do some research on it. It wouldn't take everything out. But taking down the power grid, which is actually not as hard to do and doesn't require as nearly as much expertise or stealth. I would love to see the United States, instead of spending its energy escalating our attacks on the Russian power grid, on working harder on securing ours. Since 2012, current and former officials say the U.S. has put reconnaissance probes into the control systems of the Russian electrical grid. By the way, exactly the same thing happening to us. Dangerous oil and gas intrusions. The scale of the operation in the U.S. from a nation state we don't know, but could be, well, it could be a number of enemies, right? The scale of the operation, the number targeted, and the regions being targeted shows more than just a passing interest in this section. And it's not, you know, the guy in the hoodie in the mom's basement doing this. These are nation states. Triton malware showed it's an analysis showed its developers have performed extensive reverse engineering of oil refineries, power stations. It's believed, according to FireEye, another security group, that Triton was developed with the help of who? The Central Scientific Research Institute of Chemistry and Mechanics in Moscow. The Russians have tried it out in Ukraine. In December 2015, hundreds of thousands of people in Ukraine were left without electricity briefly. It was felt that this was a test. Can we do it? Yeah, we can. Exactly 1 year later, another hack, also tied to Russia, took out power in Ukraine again. Can we do it? Yeah. My job is not to spread scare stories, but I think if we think about this, it might be cause for pause and consideration about our policies. Maybe a time for a little treaty. Because just think what it would be like if our power were out for any extended period of time. What that would be like in the big cities, all over the country. How would you feel if you couldn't hear the tech guy for weeks at a time? Horrible. Horrible. Let's see. Let me something more uplifting. Huawei, another company that the United States has decided we don't like these guys. We're going to get them. Huawei had a foldable. Remember the Galaxy Fold, which nothing has happened, and I don't think will for a while. It turned out it had some major flaws. A foldable phone. Huawei also showed a foldable phone, the Mate X. They now say we had wanted to launch it in June, but I don't think we will, not till September, because we're looking at what happened with the Samsung Galaxy Fold, and maybe we should look again at what we're doing. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea. This week, Facebook will announce its new cryptocurrency. This one is really interesting and a little nervous-making as well, because Facebook has massive partnerships with Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, but some other companies have said no because this project Libra, that's what Facebook calls it, would require the handing over of a lot of data to Facebook. Facebook plans to connect users' financial information, your financial. Think about this. If you hear of this Project Libra thing, and Uber's going to use it, you can pay for an Uber ride with it. Of course, Facebook's Messenger and WhatsApp will have it as their currency. You can exchange currency. It'll be pegged to the U.S. dollar, so it won't go up and down, and you'll be able to transfer it into dollars at some point, I'm sure. But Facebook's plan is to connect your financial information to your Facebook profile, including integrating it with external payment processors like MasterCard and Visa. I don't know. You think it's just sour grapes? Because I long ago deleted my Facebook account. I didn't want to participate in any of this stuff. Am I just sour graping? That should be a verb. Sour grape. You're sour graping, Leo. Don't sour grape. We'll watch next week. We'll talk about it. Facebook's expected to announce this week. Should be very, very interesting. 8888, ask Leo the phone number. Boy, I'd hate it if, a cyber war broke out. Wouldn't that be a scary thought? Ladies and gentlemen, live from the Twit East Side Studios, it's Kim Schaffer. Hello, Kim Schaffer.
Good morning.
Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday.
Father's Day tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's okay. You don't have to give me a gift.
It's okay. My father gave me a gift.
Yeah, it's funny. My son took me out for dinner yesterday, and it was kind of expensive. So I said, let me pay for it. He said, no, I want to take you out. I said, nah, that's okay. The gift is your time. Yeah. Having time with you is the gift.
Mine have yet abandoned me again. And that's what you get for working on the weekends.
What do you mean abandoned you? Where'd they go?
My whole family went out to the Delta, and they're going to go boating and camping this weekend.
Oh, they did. They abandoned you.
They abandoned me. But
shocking.
It happens. You work on the weekends, you miss out on those kind of things.
Well, I'm here.
So I'm here, you're here, and we'll spend Father's Day together.
Yeah, I'm as old as your father. I don't know if that counts.
No, you're not.
Oh, okay.
He's
Close.
got about 15 years on you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You have an older father.
Yeah, it happened.
So I'm not going to delve into the whys and wherefores of that. I'm going to say to you merely, who should I start with
How
today?
about Tom in Warren, Ohio, looking to set up a VPN in his home and wants to know how to go about that process?
That sounds like a good question. Thank you, Kim. Hello, Tom. Leo Laporte.
Leo.
How are you today?
I'm doing okay, waiting for the rain to come in and get the grass cut first. But I'll talk to you before I do any of that.
If you cut the grass before the rain, doesn't it grow more?
Yeah, and I even got a tech mower. I got an electric mower now. How about
Ooh. Now, is it quieter? I guess it would be quieter, right?
Yeah, it's quieter, and it's a lot lighter than the old big mower, self-propelled. This doesn't even have self-propelled. It works great.
But don't you have to have do you have to really, really long cord? Does it have batteries?
It runs on lithium batteries, yeah.
Nice.
That's the battery one.
I like them.
That's what I like.
I like the modern era.
No cords.
What a wonderful time we live in. So,
I like it because it's so much lighter. Anyway, VPNs. Hey, does the VPN, would that prevent? It was a story in the local news here. A doctor's office got infected or whatever, attacked with some malware, and they told them they had to pay $85,000. Can a VPN prevent that or no?
First of all, do not pay if you get infected with malware. Jeez, Louise.
I don't know what they ended up shutting the office down for like 3.
So next time, call Carbonite, okay, our sponsor. You don't have to get bit by malware, although it happens more and more, doesn't it? No, a VPN would not protect them at all.
Yeah.
So if that's why you want a VPN, no. What is a VPN? It's
I need a VPN. VPN is mainly just for anonymity or whatever.
Yeah, not even anonymity so much.
To make you anonymous.
So what it does is it just it almost literally, figuratively kicks the can down the road, the can of privacy and security. The idea is right now when you go on the internet, you go directly from your computer through your router to the outside world. And so the outside world sees you as emerging at your router into the public internet. It's like, if you imagine, it's like going out your front door and the world sees you. What a VPN is imagine you had a covered tunnel from your front door to somebody else's house, and you went out your front door, but nobody could tell, and you went down over to somebody else, and you came out the front door at somebody else's house. Now people think you're coming out the front door at somebody else's house. Plus, anybody who's watching your front door will be baffled as to when you leave and when you go. So that's exactly what a VPN does. It's an encrypted tunnel from your computer to some other computer. And when you use it, anybody who's watching your connection can't tell what you're doing. That could be, by the way, not just a bad guy. It could be your internet service provider. It could be, if you're on a cell phone, your carrier. Those people know exactly what sites you're visiting. They may not know what you do on those sites if they're encrypted sites, but they know who you're visiting and when. So people use VPNs for privacy. The security is limited to somebody watching your front door, but you still have to emerge on the public internet. So kind of what you want to do is make sure that wherever, so let's say you're going to your neighbor's house. You have a tunnel to your neighbor's house. You have to trust your neighbor, because now your neighbor is the one who sees everything you're doing, right? Your neighbor is the one who knows your comings and goings, and your neighbor sees your unencrypted data coming as you come out his front door. So that's the VPN provider. So the real challenge with VPN is choosing a provider that's gonna look the other way, that's not gonna spy on you. It does have the security advantage if you're on a Wi-Fi network, let's say at a coffee shop or a hotel or a cruise ship. When you're on that Wi-Fi network, people can see what you're doing. So if you use a VPN and that's really where VPNs, the first place people started using VPNs was when they were going to work, telecommuting. You know, when you're at work inside the office and you get on the office network, that office network is shielded from the outside world. But let's say you wanted to work at home. So companies set up at great expense and complexity, because if you remember those days, you had to download special software to put on your machine from Cisco or some other company, and you'd fire that software up, and then it would make the connection to your office network, and your office network would verify your identity and it'd let you in. That was the original use of virtual private networks, so that when you're at home, it looks like you're at work. But then people said, well, yeah, we could use this to further secure our internet surfing and privacy. But it has that limitation. At some point, you get on the public internet, and at that point, it's just like you weren't using a VPN at all. So a VPN is useful if you do not trust people who are near you, the people who are in the coffee shop, the people who are watching your front door. If you want to hide from them, that's what a VPN is good for. It will not protect you against malware. That comes in via email, can even come in via VPN email, right? Encrypted email. But usually, and I'll guarantee you, this doctor's office in your town in Warren, Ohio, got hacked because somebody in the office got an email they thought was from the boss saying, "Open this spreadsheet right away. I need some data or something, or open this file." They opened it. It infected their computer, and then it spread over their internal network to all the other computers, locked it down, and said, "Pay me. Pay me." Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So, is that it? Did that answer your question, Tom? Were you thinking of setting up your own VPN?
Yeah. No, I was just trying to see about, beefing up, security and that. But like I said, I use the Carbonite, so...
That's good. That'll help you.
Years.
Yeah. The other thing is, and so most businesses, there's no excuse for getting this ransomware, by the way.
Right.
We use something from Cisco called Umbrella, but there are lots of products like this that looks for ransomware in all inbound email, looks at all the attachments.
Right. It scans the email before you even get it.
Exactly. Now, it's not 100% perfect because it's potentially got new ransomware, but most of the time you don't. Most of the time when you get these emails, it's ransomware that's been known for some time. So
yeah, because they're always trying to evolve things to make it harder to catch that.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. The bad guys are always trying to create new malware that your antivirus doesn't know about. That's part. But remember that those people who are doing that, they're very sophisticated. they're not your average run-of-the-mill. Most of the time, the ransomware you're getting is from some script kiddie. And so those guys, they're buying an off-the-shelf ransomware program.
Off-the-shelf ransomware.
Yeah, I know. Is that wild?
That's crazy.
They buy off-the-shelf ransomware, and they package it up in a targeted email. And usually what they're doing, so what they probably did with that doctor's office is they went around. They're almost certainly not in the United States, but maybe even if they are, it doesn't matter. They went around, they looked at directories, they figured out who the names of the employees are, they figured out what the employee emails would be, and they figured out who the head doctor is. Actually, it doesn't matter in a doctor's office, just any doctor, right? And they sent it to the person at the front. They figure out who's at the front desk. They sent him an email saying, "Hey, I've attached some new patient records. Please add these to our database." And they're in a zip file, right? Yep. And so the admin opens them up. Yep, that's it. And that's targeted. Yeah. You know all this. I know you know all this stuff. I know you know.
I've heard of it before. Yeah, but I've seen it. Now they're getting down even to not just big corporations
because that doctor's office probably is more likely.
Baltimore, Maryland, did they?
Yeah, they're more. Yeah, Baltimore for 3 weeks. Baltimore shut down.
Yeah,
but the reason that people keep doing it is because it works and they get paid. So that's why the FBI, people will say, don't pay them. Mm-hmm.
Keep backed up. Keep your stuff backed up.
Partly also
create the system
because if
on a whole nother new computer.
There's exactly. That's isolated. That's not on the same network. Part of the reason paying them is not a great idea is you may not get a key. They may just say thank you.
Exactly.
See you later.
Who knows how?
They're crooks. You trust them? There's honor.
You're gonna.
What kind of birds do you have, Tom?
Crazy. Birds?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just outside getting ready to cut the grass.
Oh, man, you have a lot of birds. It's beautiful.
Cardinals, robins.
Oh, that's beautiful. I hear them. It's spring in Ohio.
Yeah, it's spring, but it's awful wet over here. Supposed to get more rain today. That's the problem.
All right.
We've already had as much rain as what the average is in half a month. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, well.
And we've had some rainy Junes. We had a couple of years ago, we had a month that 21 out of the 30 days it rained.
Holy cow. But it's very green, but that's why Ohio's so green. I love that. We're in an arid climate. We won't get rain now till the fall, and so it gets brown. Hey, I got to run, Tom. Thank you.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thanks, Leo. Bye.
Hey, Scott Wilkinson's back.
Hey,
traveled
Leo.
1,000 miles through the leaves. Well, no, not through the leaves.
Not leaves yet, no. Through the lobster pots.
The lobster pots of New England. Where'd you go?
Oh, we started in New York City. We drove up to Boston, Lexington, actually.
Nice.
Visited there for a few days with my wife's family. And then we went up to Camden, Maine.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a beautiful, oh, man, what a beautiful, picturesque little coastal town in Maine with a little harbor and sailboats. It was just beautiful.
How nice.
Visited some family up there. My wife's family has a farm that's been up there for 80 years.
So while you were gone, I guess there was a big shootout.
Actually, no. What happened was we planned the trip so that we ended up back in New York City in time for the Value Electronics 2019 TV Shootout.
The
shootout, which I was involved in. In fact, I was the MC.
Oh, I'm so glad. That sounds like that's fun.
It was really a lot of fun.
I'm so glad.
It was done as part of an event called CE Week.
Yes.
Which is a kind of a mid-year consumer electronics conclave. Some companies were showing their stuff. Professionals were there. Lots of panels, discussions on this and that. It's held at the Javits Center in New York City, which I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's really quite an astonishing convention center.
Yeah.
It's huge and beautiful.
Yeah.
And we only occupied part of it. There were 2 other conferences going on at the same time.
Wow.
But we spent all of one day at CE Week with the shootout. Now, this is the 15th annual shootout that has been done every year for the last 15 years by a retailer in Scarsdale, New York, called Value Electronics, which was started by a fellow named Robert Zone. And he was frustrated 15 years ago that there were no real level playing field comparisons of TVs.
Yeah.
Very often manufacturers will put up, their TV next to their competitor at CES or in a line show or something. And they'll say, see, ours is so much better. Well, yeah, but were they calibrated? Well, no. They're just out of their box? Well, yeah. But you really have no idea if they put their finger on the scale. You know what I mean? So Robert said, I want to do one where the playing field is completely level. And I also want to do it with the flagship TVs that are available today, the very best that each major manufacturer, can produce, and put them right next to each other, calibrate them completely, and all exactly the same, and then have people come in and I'll make up ballots, right? And they'll score these things on different elements like dynamic range and color accuracy and motion resolution and those sorts of things. Under different conditions, we'll look at HDR with the lights out. We'll look at SDR, standard dynamic range, with the lights out and with the lights on, because that's how most people actually watch TV. And this year we actually added a fourth category called streaming, because streaming has become so much better over the years. It's still not as good as Blu-ray or Ultra HD Blu-ray, but it's gotten a lot better. And so we decided, we should evaluate that and see. And we used, in fact, the TV's own internal streaming app, Netflix in this case, to take a look at the same content. Now, syncing up Blu-ray content or Ultra HD Blu-ray content was easy because we had one source. An Ultra HD Blu-ray player, in most cases, actually was coming from a Kaleidoscope server. So the Ultra HD Blu-ray is sitting on a hard disk sent to a matrix switcher, right? An HDMI matrix switcher, which then sent the signal out to all the TVs using HDMI cables of the same length to make sure that there wasn't any difference there between one TV and the next. And so we were able to, start and stop the content, and all TVs looked exactly the same. With the streaming, they had to, okay, ready, 1, 2, 3, go, and we had to try and sync up the playback as best as possible.
Yeah.
It wasn't perfect, but
it's close enough, right?
It was close enough. Yeah, exactly. So here were the contenders this year, and again, these are the flagship, most of them were the top of the line TV. We had the LG C9 OLED, which is actually not their top of the line, but since their OLEDs all use the same panel and the same electronics, the only difference is in the casing. We decided the C9 was fine.
Good.
Then we had the Samsung Q90R. These are all 4K HDR capable sets. The Samsung Q90R is a quantum dot enabled LCD TV, LED LCD TV. We had the Sony A9G OLED, which is their top of the line OLED, and the Sony Z9F LED LCD TV, which actually was in the shootout last year, had just barely come out, but it's their top of the line 4K. They now have a 8K, but that's only available in 88 or 98 inches. So all the other TVs were 65 inches. And one important part is to keep them all the same size. Because a bigger TV next to a smaller TV, you're going to even subconsciously adjudicate it differently. So we played a bunch of material. We had 8 professional judges. I mean, these are like colorists, people who do color grading of movies and TVs. Speaking of which, we did have one final TV there, or display, was the Sony X300 professional reference monitor that is used to color grade TV movies and TV shows. That's only 30 inches big, but it's 4K RGB OLED, and so basically
how much is that?
Oh, that's $42,000.
I say that it's important. Apple was talking about this at their event when they announced their new monitor. They said, a good reference monitor is $40,000. Yep. And theirs is only $5,000. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
these the TVs under consideration are more in the several $1,000s range.
The important point is the reference monitors are used to color correct. So
correct, exactly.
You
right.
want to match those, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the real goal of the shootout was to look at that littler reference monitor, which was in the middle between two pairs of TVs, and see which of the TVs, the consumer TVs, matched it the closest in terms of picture quality.
You only have a minute, so I'm because I don't want to finish this segment without you telling us who won.
Okay, well, the winner turned out to be the Sony A9G OLED.
Nice.
But I have to say the LG OLED was super close. The difference was very, very small.
Is the price close?
I think the Sony's a little bit more. The LG, I think, is in the $3,000 range, and the Sony is probably in the $3,500 range. I didn't actually look up the prices.
LG has won in years past, right?
It has. So
this is
Sony
a nice victory.
Year.
Oh, okay. Second year in a row.
Sony won last year, but LG had been the winner in most of the previous years that they were entered with OLED.
And they're still very close because OLED just does
close.
Look good.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Believe it or not, the Sony and the LG both came out first and second in day mode with the lights on.
Wow.
Even though the LCD TVs were much brighter.
The Sony A9G Master Series OLED.
Yep.
The winner of the Value Electronics TV Shootout, the king of TV.
That's it.
Scott Wilkinson. He's the king of AV here, our home theater geek. He writes at techhive.com, joins us every week. We missed him last week, but I'm glad you are back from the shootout with the winner.
You bet.
Very nice. Thanks, Scott. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Interesting. I'm so glad you got to do that. I didn't know you emceed it. How fun is that?
Yeah, it was really fun. It was really fun. And it was an all-day thing, man. We were there from 9 a.m. to after 5 p.m.
Oh, I see you in the picture. That's awesome. Oh, man. I got to pull this picture up for everybody. That's so fun. I'm writing it up. I didn't, basically the shootout happened on Wednesday. Thursday, I was at the CE week all day. Friday, I flew home. So I'm going to write this up, my version of it, over the weekend, and it'll get posted on Tech Hive hopefully Monday. Here's the judges assembled. There's Scott. That's fun.
Yeah.
How fun.
The judges, we had TV reviewers. We had one guy who reviewed Blu-rays for Blu-ray.com. We had a couple of colorists.
Was there any dissension, or was it pretty much all? It looks like Sony won in every category.
Yeah, but again, the margin was very slim.
Right.
Very slim between the Sony and the LG.
Did you look
OLED.
at any non-OLEDs?
Yeah. There was the Sony
the
Z9F.
XBRs were there. Oh, yeah.
Well, the Sony OLED starts with XBR as well. All their top model numbers do. But the Z9F was a Sony LCD, and the Samsung Q90R was an LCD. And one interesting difference between those, we looked at some what are called, there's a brand new Spears and Munsell test disc coming out next week.
Good.
In a couple of weeks, and we looked at a preliminary version of it, and among its many interesting test patterns is a LED local dimming zone counter, which is a tiny little white square on a black background, and it slowly moves around the screen and lets you see the individual LED local dimming
measure
zones.
The brightness in each of those zones.
Well, we measured the brightness of each TV, but really what it was to look at is haloing. And the Sony had a lot more haloing around this little square than the Samsung did.
Huh.
And the reason is the Sony has many fewer local dimming zones.
Yeah.
So when you put a tiny little square, a white square on a black background,
lights coming from other
light
places.
up the entire zone.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
the Sony also had less good black letterbox bars. There was some bleeding, some haloing into the black letterbox bars of, widescreen movies, 235 movies. And so that was a negative in my opinion. Certainly the Samsung beat it handily in that regard. But when you looked at the measurements, and they took all kinds of measurements before we actually did the shootout. The shootout's all perceptual. It's all day of sitting there looking and gauging with your eyes what looks better or worse or whatever. But before the shootout, they did a full calibration. They did full measurements. And the Samsung actually tended to, even after calibration, tended to crush blacks in the very low light regions of images. And they weren't able to defeat that. The Sony didn't, but its black level, by looking at black letterbox bars or whatever, was higher. So it's like, it's pick your poison. Right. Which one do you want? Nothing's perfect.
Can you stick around for the top?
You bet.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. The phone number. Terry, St. Paul, Minnesota is next. Hello, Terry.
Hello, Leo.
Welcome.
Thank you.
What can I do
when
for
you're
you?
talking about VPNs,
yes.
How I use a VPN is I'm in Minnesota now, but I live in the Philippines, and I watch through the VPN stuff like ABC, CBS, that kind of thing that I wouldn't be able to without the VPN.
Yeah, it's just like if you – so I'll really burden this analogy a little farther. You have that tunnel from your house to your neighbor's house so you can emerge into the world at your neighbor's house. If your neighbor lives in another country, when you come out into the world, that's where you seem to be coming from. There is a drawback to that, which is that in most cases people, if they're using sophisticated technology, can see that you're using a VPN. Companies like Netflix try to prevent that kind of geographic shell game by blocking VPNs. So your mileage may vary depending on what VPN you're using. It is sometimes possible to tell that you're using a VPN. For instance, VPNs are also used by malefactors to anonymize their activity. And, we have a chat room, and of course people sometimes try to sneak into the chat room even though they've been banned by using a VPN. So we block VPNs in our chat room. So sometimes VPNs will be blocked because people know how they're used. But it seems to be working for you, right?
For the most part, yeah. I do have where they kind of go, okay, there's a VPN and block, but for the most part it works okay.
Good. What can I do for you?
A couple questions.
Yes, sir.
First quick question is, like millions of other people, I get all these phone calls or whatever, from Robos. Is it doing any good to block those or not?
No, because it can change. The phone number's made up, as you probably figured out. Sometimes it's your number. How about that? Yeah. Often it's your area code. Sometimes it's even your area code in exchange, the first 6 digits of your 10-digit phone number.
Yeah, I get a lot of those.
Yeah. So those are all spoofed. That's called neighbor spoofing, and they do it because, well, you might not be able to turn down a call that comes from a neighbor. Maybe it's your kid's school or, an emergency, and so people will answer those. These guys are terrible. They're awful. Now, the good news, I guess it's good news, is the FCC is now telling phone companies they can start to block robocalls. They have not been allowed to in the past due to free speech concerns. You might say, well, robocallers don't deserve free speech. Well, that's true, but phone companies also are notorious for blocking calls for people they don't like a solicitor from another phone company. So I'm sure they'll be monitored a little bit, but that's good news. And then there is a new protocol called Shake and Stir. Obviously, a Bond fan named it. And it's an authentication protocol because at the beginning of the conversation, we talked about how easy it is to spoof a number. If you could force authentication, if you could say, look, you can't make this call unless you use your real number, that would eliminate robocalling. Absolutely. Because, and if for no other reason that you could block a call if it were coming from, let's say, the Philippines or China or Russia or wherever. And then the other thing you could do is, and I think people would do this, is I only want calls from authenticated numbers. That would pretty much eliminate robocalls. Shaken and Stir has to be implemented on both sides, shaken by one carrier, stir by the other carrier, and they haven't yet all started to do that. But once that happens, I think robocalling will go away. It'll go away eventually. It's more than half of all the cell phone traffic now is spam calls. That makes cell phones unusable. And AT&T and T-Mobile and Sprint and Verizon, the last thing they'd want is for you to say, well, I'm not getting a cell phone. I can't use it for phone calls. That would kill them.
Yeah.
So they're going to figure out a way around this, I think.
Yep. So my more important question is, I use Magic Jack to call to the U.S. and stuff like that, and it has text. You can receive texts on it, but some companies or whatever, I don't receive them because I think they send texts short or something like that or whatever. Where it's for like second factor authentication.
Yeah.
I think that's why I was researching. It was like it doesn't send the whole number; it says it's short, and so then I don't
think that's what that means. So You've ever seen? You see this in ads all the time. Text 60602.
Right.
Text hello to 60602, and we'll send you our free kit. That kind of thing. That's called a short code, and a lot of short codes do not work on VoIP. So short codes is a feature that's provided by SMS messaging over real carriers. But yeah, Magic Jack and some of these other guys won't work with short codes. I think that's what they're saying, because that is the case. They won't work with short codes. So if you see, you're using something for your text messaging, of some sort of VoIP service for your text messaging, and you see an ad that says, text hello to 60606, it won't work. I found there's weird things like Google Voice. Like sometimes you can't use a Google Voice number for a text number and it has to do with it's really a complex system. Text messaging requires a gateway from your carrier to another carrier, and et cetera, et cetera. So if you want to use Google Voice and AT&T doesn't have a gateway to Google Voice, they can't text Google Voice. Things like that. It's a really terrible old-fashioned system that has been completely superseded by the internet. If you just use data, that's why I bet you use WhatsApp, right? If you live in the Philippines, is WhatsApp the most popular text messaging?
Actually, I just downloaded it, but I really haven't used it because I wasn't sure if that would be a...
What do your friends in the Philippines use instead of SMS messages? Do they use a messaging program?
I think a lot of them just use Facebook Messenger.
Facebook, that's the same thing.
Yeah.
Apple's messages. WhatsApp is the most popular worldwide. In China, it's WeChat. In Japan, it's Line. These all use data, so they don't have any of these problems. They work so much better. But the phone companies were tied to the revenue model for short message system, which is SMS. And so SMS lives on, and it's a terrible system. It's a lot of the reasons we have this spam, they're related, that we have this spam, all these problems is because we have the oldest cell phone system in the world. And so we have a lot of legacy stuff. And that's often the case,
Right now I still have my T-Mobile account, but so I can get second factor that way or whatever. But is there a substitute so I can get rid of the T-Mobile? Would WhatsApp work?
It just depends on who's sending the SMS code. The reason they're hesitant to not use a carrier is for spoofing. So they're very nervous because really text messaging authentication codes is actually a terrible idea. It's because it's very insecure. There's a thing called SIM jacking. Well-known tech journalist just got SIM jacked, all of his accounts stolen. Somebody impersonated him to the cell phone, said, I lost my SIM card, or I lost my phone. Can you send me a new SIM card? But I have a new address. There's also hacking of the baseband radios, which are wildly bug-laden. So SMS, I would not use, if you can, use an authenticating app like Google Authenticator. I like Authy, A-U-T-H-Y. See if the place that you want to send the authentication codes, if they'll support an app as opposed to text messaging. You shouldn't use text messaging. Whenever you can, turn that off because it's insecure.
But I mean, most banks
love the SMS. Google. No, Google does not require it. In fact, you can say what kind of authentication you want with Google, and you can say do not use phone-based authentication, and they won't.
Okay.
But banks, you're right. A lot of my bank, I have to use SMS. It makes me crazy because it's a very insecure thing. It's not a good thing.
So then I'm just kind of stuck with.
I think. Well, you can try. You can set up some systems and see if they'll accept that number, but in most cases they won't. Yeah, it's very common because it's not a real phone system. It's not SMS. So they want to, they don't want to use data. That's why, I guess that's why they still use SMS. I don't know. I can't understand it. It makes no sense to me. I am now going to give you the star of our show, and that's all that really matters here. It's time to talk TVs
with Star Scotty. Of the show for 5 minutes anyway.
Well, it's your show now, man.
Thanks. Fred S. in the chat room asked a very good question, which is what HDMI cables were we using? He wants to get...
Yeah, because somebody asked me last week, he wanted to buy these fancy cables that they were speaker cables, but it's the same principle, that they burned in. Like they would play music through them for a period of time to make sure that they were ready to go. I said, in fact, I remember seeing a famous test where they used coat hangers and they did A/B comparisons between expensive monster cables and coat hangers.
Yep.
Made no difference.
My former colleague Mark Henninger at AVS Forum did the same thing with crumpled up tinfoil. Like 25 or 30 feet of tinfoil versus expensive monster cables. There was no difference.
No. Anyway, what about HDMI, though? You do want good HDMI cables.
Well, yes, you do. I mean,
good up to a point.
HDMI is digital, right? So it's got to carry digital information. There's a lot of noise I learned at this shootout, actually, talking to the guy who supplied the HDMI cables. There's a lot of noise in HDMI cables that you kind of have to be careful about. And there are things to be careful about. But we used at the shootout, we used his cables. His company is called Metra, M-E-T-R-A, Home Theater. And we used 10-meter cables for all the TVs from the 16 by 16 matrix switcher, which was from AV Pro. All the TVs were connected to that switcher with 10-meter cables. That's like 30 feet. And they're copper. They're passive. They also make fiber optic cables, but those are active. They have to have little electronics at either end to convert electrical signals to optical pulses and back and forth. But with these copper cables at 30 feet, I was pretty impressed, and there was absolutely no problem whatsoever. Those cables, in fact, are rated and measured to carry 24 gigabits per second, which is more than the 18 gigabits per second that current HDMI maxes out at. Now, HDMI 2.1 is coming. There are some products that say they implement it, but really they only implement parts of it. No product I know of can do the maximum HDMI 2.1 bandwidth, which is 48 gigabits per second, which is required for 8K. And believe it or not, 8K is coming sooner than you think. Not content, but TVs. You can already buy a Samsung 8K and an LG OLED 8K, and a Sony 8K is coming very soon. So that's happening. There's no question about it. And we're going to need more than 18 gigabits per second HDMI ultimately to do that. But nobody can do that yet. So these cables were phenomenal. They were great. So I recommend them. Metra, M-E-T-R-A, Home Theater. Yes, Maverick 56. The PS5 will be 8K. I don't know that. I haven't heard that officially. I heard at the shootout, or at the CE Week rather, that I believe the Xbox will support 8K. And that's one of the first places we're going to see 8K content, other than user-generated content. And that's another area that we don't talk about very much. Because certainly still photos are already at 8K. Almost, anyway. 8K is 33 megapixels. And there are certainly cameras that do 33 megapixels. Sharp at CES last January announced, and I think they might even be selling it now, an 8K camcorder. So you can go out and shoot your own 8K and show it on an 8K display, and it'll look amazing. There are other reasons. I've become an 8K convert. For a long time I was like, who needs 8K? 4K is more than enough at the screen sizes and distances that people are used to. And that's more or less true. But as screen sizes get bigger, right? Now the average screen size is probably 65. I haven't looked at the stats recently, but certainly the average screen size of what people buy is going up, has been going up for a long time. And now it's probably on the order of 55 or 65 inches. Pretty soon it'll be 65 or 75 inches. These 8K sets are coming out at 85, 88, and 98 inches. And 8K as a resolution becomes more important at those larger screen sizes. But another important factor, probably the most important factor, at least in the short term, is that 8K TVs with their super video processors that use artificial intelligence can make lower resolution content, 4K, even HD, look better because they interpolate those signals up to 8K, and the interpolation errors are smaller because there are more pixels. So the image actually looks better. So that is a good reason to want 8K. Now, I believe the Tokyo Olympics are going to have some 8K broadcast. Whether or not it's available in the U.S., I don't know. It'll certainly be available in Japan. But that is the next opportunity for 8K. NHK, the Japanese broadcaster, has been doing 8K for years. They've been experimenting with it and shooting stuff with it, and they're certainly going to shoot the Olympics with it. I hope we get a chance to get some in the U.S., but how is it going to be delivered? ATSC 3.0 over the air? Probably not. Satellite? Maybe if DirecTV or Dish can support it. I don't know that they can. Streaming is probably the best way to do it, but man, that's going to take some bandwidth. And it's going to be highly compressed. So, there's still a lot of things to work out about 8K content. But in the meantime, 8K TVs can make lower resolution content look pretty amazing. Sony had their 8K. It's the Z9G. I don't think it was a 98 inch. I think it was an 88 or 85. I forget. But it was really big. And they were showing native 8K content that they had shot specially for demos. And it looked great. It looked amazing. We've seen that now for a few years at CES and so on. Let's see. Tim Elliott, any hope of an 8K disc? Probably not. In fact, the Kaleidoscope guy, as you might expect, we had the Kaleidoscope Strato server there showing a lot of the content at the shootout. He's convinced that physical discs are on their way out. They're absolutely on their way out. In fact, he gave several examples of content. I'm not sure if it was TV shows. I think it was, that are not being released on disc at all. They're being released sometimes not even on streaming. In some cases, only on Kaleidoscope or some other downloadable format. Kaleidoscope being the best. Of course, he would say that, but I happen to agree. In any event, if you look at the stats of disc sales, certainly down. He's convinced that discs will soon be gone. There you go.
Mr. Scott Wilkinson, God bless you. Have a wonderful week. Well, hey, how are you, boo-boo? It's a picnic biscuit. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet. I don't know why I was channeling Yogi Bear there. Home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number. If you want to talk high tech, I'd love to do it with you. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. They were talking about, Scott in the chat room were talking about 8K television during the break. Scott sticks around. Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guy, talks with the folks. And one of the points somebody, I guess Mike Heiss, his erstwhile colleague in the chat room, mentioned that there will be new PlayStations and Xboxes next year, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Scarlet for 2020. In the past, that's been a great way to get Blu-ray, initially Blu-ray and then UHD DVD players. That's the UHD DVD player I use is in my Xbox One X. And I had my first Blu-ray player. The only Blu-ray player I really needed was in my PlayStation 4 for a long time. Ironically, PlayStation has stopped shipping optical drives with their machines. Even the Xbox now has a no-disc version. I really wonder if they'll put. I bet they don't, to be honest. Mike was speculating about whether they put 8K drives or 4K drives in the new game systems. My guess is not. It's actually a real trend that I've mentioned before and get yelled at every time I do, away from physical media. I think now maybe people will agree with me. Physical media is not doing well. It's not dead. It's just on life support. CDs, DVDs, books, newspapers, and magazines have all been, for the most part, replaced by digital content. I love books. I have bookshelves. I always, my dream to have a library filled with books in my house, a bookshelf. But that's a luxury item these days, especially if you ever move. Do you remember, if you're a person of a certain age, do you remember moving with your CD collection? I'm old enough to remember moving with a record collection. What a nightmare. Nowadays, your collection is in the cloud. And that's true of games as well. More and more people are buying games online. They're not buying a disc, bringing them home. Partly because even if you buy a disc and bring it home, you then have to download enough, more than a disc's worth of extra stuff. So you're downloading stuff anyway. Why not just download the whole thing? And everybody, Microsoft and Sony included, is moving towards this idea of streaming gaming. Google this week released the details of Stadia, their streaming gaming system. The idea with Google Stadia, it's a little different from what Microsoft and PlayStation are offering. Microsoft and Sony are offering, the idea for that is they store the games. NVIDIA does this as well. There are a number of companies on it. They store the games on their server. You pay a flat fee, and you get access to whatever games are on that server. In the case of the Xbox Game Pass, you have a choice of 100 games. You can play them at any time. NVIDIA's GeForce, what is it called? GeForce Live? I can't remember. I have it at home. I don't remember the brand name. Does kind of the same thing. For your monthly fee, you get access to a bunch of games. The games are played on their computers up in the cloud and then streamed to you over your Xbox, or in the case of the NVIDIA, it's the NVIDIA Shield TV device. And then I can play them as if I'm playing them at home on my big screen TV. And at first I thought that's what Google Stadia was. But it turns out Stadia is a little bit of a different idea. Stadia is $10 a month. You don't get any games for that price. You have to buy games. And by the way, the games cost the same as they do for a physical game, $60 in most cases. And it's the same titles. But what you're really doing is renting for $10 a month a game console in the cloud. So it's a very different idea. You buy the games, they don't go on your system. In fact, you don't have a system. You have it could be an Android device or a Chromebook. Most people, I think, will want to be using a Chromecast Ultra. That's what Google's offering in their Founders package. And you'll be able to watch these at 60 frames a second, 4K resolution with high dynamic range and 5.1 surround sound. But you don't have a gaming console in your house. You play it on inexpensive hardware. The Founders Edition includes the Chromecast Ultra, 3 months of Stadia, and a buddy pass that you can give to a friend, plus a Chromecast Ultra, $129. Oh, and a game controller, special Stadia game controller. I couldn't bring myself to buy this. I thought, I don't get it. I don't understand. Because if you're a serious gamer, you'll have a gaming PC, or you'll have one of the consoles, a PlayStation 4 or Xbox. Who's this for? Who's this $10 a month for? And my producer Karsten, whose teenage son has mocked this ever since Google announced it a couple of months ago, says now he gets it. Now the kid gets it. It's for somebody who doesn't yet have a console or a gaming PC, but wants that quality of gaming for $10 a month, which is less. I admit it. It's $120 a year. Still have to buy the games, but a good Xbox, a couple hundred, $250, something like that. So, and it gets upgraded automatically in the cloud. It can run faster in theory. There's one hitch, one little teeny weeny hitch to all of this. And I think this is going to be a critical hitch for gamers. And that's your internet service provider. Google, can do this all right. We don't know yet if they have, although the demos have been pretty impressive. They could do this all right. But it still has to go down whatever pipe your ISP gives you. And for most of us, it's probably not good enough. If you go to the Google Stadia homepage, they have a check your connection where they say you need at least 10 megabits per second to stream games on Stadia. That's reasonable. A lot of people have that. But that's 720p. If you want to run 1080p high def or 4K, which they do offer, you'll need a better connection to that. And it needs to be stable. And if you're playing a game with other people on the internet, it needs to be low latency. And that's actually the hardest thing to do. Not to mention bandwidth caps that many US ISPs offer. You'll blow through those pretty darn quickly if you play, an hour a day even. And I think most gamers play more than that. So this would be, it's brave of Google. I think it's an interesting idea. It might be just another one of those things Google kills after no time at all. They are wants to do that, are they not? I don't know. What do you think? 8888 Ask Leo. Let's talk high tech. 888-827-5536. This is episode 1600 in our continuing quest to understand how technology works and make it work better for you. The website has all of those episodes, all 1,600 of them, available to you. It's at techguylabs.com. It's free. There's no sign-up fee to use it. And it also has answers to everything and links to everything we talk about on the show. So techguylabs.com if you want to hear what I said last week. Or if next week you want to hear what I said this week. All righty. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I've talked enough. Let's get back to the phones. Your calls next on The Tech Guy, episode 1600. $88.88 Ask Leo. Time to talk high tech. Let's see, line 2, Fred Tarzana, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Fred.
Hey, Leo. This is kind of embarrassing for me. You've guided me you've guided me from the analog to the digital age. I'm an older guy, and you have helped me just enormously. And this will probably be the lowest tech question you get for the day.
As I said at the beginning of the show, I don't care. I don't mind. Hit me.
Anyhow, this pertains to Windows.
Yes.
And I've had a computer. My first computer was an 8088.
Oh, yeah. The good old days.
Oh, yeah, it ran on kerosene. And so I'm pretty, I've grown up with this. I'm completely unafraid of computers. And I've run into this problem. This is now the second time. A couple of years ago when Windows upgraded to the Anniversary Edition.
Yeah.
Which I found to be quite good. I had a heck of a time trying to install it. I kept getting these error things.
You were not alone. This was not just you, my friend.
Yeah, and I found that out after I paid $50 to a repair guy to fix it. And it took him probably about four minutes other than it installing. Well, Windows just came out with the 1903.
Yes.
And I'm having the same problem. I've searched the internet. I found about 20 solutions. I've tried probably half of them, and none of them work.
That's interesting.
And I was just wondering,
I wonder why. What it is about your system. Did the guy give you a hint as to what it is about your system that's causing these problems? Because I have to tell you, 1903, which did just come out, so it's conceivable that you're not, that others are having lots of trouble. But I have not seen any problems. I've installed it on a number of Windows machines without trouble. In fact, I'm looking at a Windows 10 1903 machine right now. So I wonder if there's something unusual about your setup, like a program that you're using that is uncommon, or hardware that you have that is uncommon. Did the guy say anything?
No, of course. He said, $50.
Yeah, I fixed it. Yeah, I fixed it. Anything else you want? And did you watch over his shoulder while he fixed it?
Of course not, because he took it to the back room.
Darn that.
So
and he fixed it instantly. Like he quickly fixed it.
Yeah, and the other thing is this is a different computer.
Oh, yeah, but okay, that's a good but that doesn't mean that it's not the same problem, because you might have do you have an unusual hobby? Do you have is there any kind of program you use that's not, absolutely Microsoft Office or Internet Explorer or that kind of thing?
Pretty much the stock stuff.
Stock stuff. Any weird printer that you use or anything like that?
I have a Canon Wi-Fi. I have a Western Digital backup hard drive.
Do this for me, absolutely. Unplug any USB drives when you're doing the update.
Oh. Gee, it would be that simple.
It could, and in fact, that would make sense why the guy, when you brought it to the shop, because you didn't bring the USB drive with you, you brought it to the shop, the guy brings it in the back, reboots it, he says, yeah, I fixed it. That'll be $50.
Well, that's the one I haven't tried yet.
Yeah, so unplug any additional hardware, USB drives especially. I don't know if you remember this or heard about it, but 1903, when it was in beta testing, Microsoft admitted it was crashing people's systems who had removable USB storage. Now, they say they fixed that. So, but what is the problem? What is the error that you're getting?
It basically, it'll go through the entire process. I've downloaded it. I've used the Microsoft Assistant thing to try it. I've done a clean boot. But what happens?
What is the symptom that you're seeing? Does it say I'm not going to install it? Does it say, well, we tried to install it, we're now rolling back? What are you seeing on the screen? Why do you say it's failing?
It's just telling me that it failed to install.
All right. Honestly,
I know it's downloaded.
Yeah, honestly, one of the things that happens in this upgrade process is it will check to see if it's fully compatible. If it's not, it will fail to install. That means, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to mess up your machine. So that actually is conceivably a good thing, because you don't want to mess up your machine, right? But what I would try is unplug the USB drive for sure.
Okay.
Any other USB stuff you've got plugged in, except obviously you need your keyboard and your mouse.
Got the keyboard and mouse, and I have a camera.
Unplug that too.
Okay.
You don't leave that plugged in, though, do you?
The camera?
Yeah.
I turn it facing the wall if I'm not using it.
Okay. But, it's plugged into the computer? Oh, I get what you're saying. You have unplug that. If it's a third-party USB camera, unplug that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm certainly hoping it's that simple, but again,
if it said, "Oh, I see something I don't like here," it will fail to install, and honor that. Don't that, and it may at a later date, because what happens is they're continually updating it, fixing compatibility issues. That's why not everybody is getting 1903 all at the same time. And it won't offer to install that. You must have looked to see if it was there and said, "Yeah, I'd like that."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're called what the Microsoft calls you a seeker. A seeker. I know, isn't this silly? You and I are of an age, of an era that you went all the time to check, is there an update? We were taught to do that. I yelled at everybody, check, make sure there's updates, make sure get all the updates. Well, Microsoft somehow in there they didn't get that memo. They don't understand that people do that. And so they don't give you Windows 1903 until you're ready for it, unless you're a seeker. And so you became a seeker.
I always thought Microsoft referred to us as a sucker.
Maybe they just misspelled it. I don't know. But that's what they call you, sucker seeker. And, so I would do unplug those two devices, the camera and the hard drive. See if it goes through it. If it doesn't, just wait. It will eventually. And that's actually my advice to everybody. Don't be a seeker. Only suckers are seekers. Be happy with what you got her. Do you have 1809, the last version on there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you're up to date.
$50 for the guy to do. Yeah.
Yeah. 1809. Oh, that's right. That's the one you had to pay for. So I would 1809 is fine. 1903 does not add a huge number of things. Very important to understand the difference between that. That's a feature update and critical updates, which come out every patch Tuesday, every second Tuesday of the month. Those you must update. Feature updates, update at your leisure. No hurry, because it's not critical. It's not fixing anything. No security updates. It's just adding new features, most of which I don't think anybody cares about, to be honest. In fact, if you got 1903, call me and tell me what's different. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. He's been everywhere. It's, of course, Johnny Jett, our traveling guru. He is at johnnyjett.com. He helps us travel better with technology. Somebody sent me there's a website, I think Johnny Cash Has Been Everywhere, website. I have to see if I can find it.
I'll have to look at that one.
Yeah. Hello, Johnny. You're home.
I am home. I am, my wife's pregnant. Third trimester, so I'm not going far, and if I am going far, I'm not going for long.
Yeah, because you have to be able to get home fast.
You know it.
When Henry, my youngest, 24 years ago, was about to be born, I had a whole routine because I was doing a TV show down in San Jose. A whole routine to get back up here in time. We had an exit plan, everything all planned out. Fortunately, didn't need to use it.
Good job.
Yes.
I guess I need to come up with an exit plan.
Only if you're doing a TV show.
Okay. I'm not. Not right now.
So this is Johnny Cash Has Been Everywhere map at johnnycashhasbeeneverywhere.com. And if you play it, it shows, I guess as the song is going, it shows everywhere he's been on the map. I don't know if it's even working. I just pressed play and nothing happened.
I got to go check that out.
It's pretty.
Johnny Cash Has Been Everywhere.com.
Oh, yeah. I know why. I have, my autoplay is turned off. Yeah, Johnny Cash Has Been. Oh, that's pretty funny. It plays everywhere. It plays everywhere he's been.
That's awesome.
Hysterical. Yeah.
That he's been or that he's written about?
It's in the song. You've been winning the muck.
I see.
It actually, I guess it plays the lyrics of the song. If I get it working. Plays the lyrics of the song, and then you can follow them on the map. So you usually have a website for us.
I do. So
us
actually,
about that.
I have a website and an app. But before we go into that, I just want to clear something up. Last week we talked about this USB condom, which you should use when you go into airports because you don't ever want to use a public USB charging station. A reader sent me an email saying that all phones past 2013 already have default, charge mode only. So, and it's not needed, but I'm not sure if that's true or not. So I just want to ask the expert.
Well, I'm going by my expert, security guru, Steve Gibson. I wouldn't plug any USB device into a charging port. Maybe all phones do. But
okay.
I'll go research that. It's a new one to me. It might be true. I mean, these things happen. People sneak that in. I think that's probably true because when you plug in a phone nowadays to a USB port, it says, do you want data access? And you have to enable data access for data access. I still wouldn't trust it.
Gotcha.
You know
and how about when you rent a car? Do you have to worry about that too?
Oh, yeah. Any USB port anywhere.
Okay.
Unless you know The reason is there are USB hacks. There's one called Bad USB. It's never really been fixed, that modifies the firmware. This is the nightmare scenario. Modifies the firmware on your USB device, and then when you plug it into other things, it infects them and spreads it everywhere.
Oh boy!
Same reason you don't pick up a USB drive was dropped in your parking lot and say, "Hey, look, it's a 16 gig drive. I think I'll use this." They call that those are called candy drops by hackers. Okay. If a hacker wants to get some malware on your company's system, they might just scatter a few high-value USB drives around the parking lot.
Wow.
Just in case.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I like finding those high-value ones.
It's believed that's how whoever did it, maybe Israel, maybe the United States, hacked the Iranian centrifuges in their plants where they were concentrating uranium to make bombs. We created a malware. Somebody created a malware, and but the problem is that these centrifuges were not connected to the internet, but they did have USB ports.
Well, speaking of hacking, did you see that YouTube video almost a month ago, about inside of a scam call center? If not, you need to Google this, watch the YouTube video. It's 15 minutes long by a guy named James Browning, I think his name. This guy is my new hero. So this call center in India was hacking into people's computers. They'll tell them that, we need to take over your computer for whatever reason. And then he turned it around on them, and he got control of their computer. He has everyone's face, live webcams. He made a video about it.
This. Highly illegal. Don't do this, kids.
Oh, it's
reverse hacking somebody is tempting, but then you're the hacker.
Yeah, well, they said no one's going to report him because these guys are doing everything they're doing is illegal, and he's been draining their bank accounts. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's you got to watch the video.
You believe everything you see on YouTube, Johnny?
Yes. CBS News did a story on this, and I actually tweeted it last night. I retweeted them, and I put the YouTube video in there so you can quickly look at it. But that's
Stiff. Is that his name?
No, that's not his name.
Okay. All right. I'll look for it. I'll follow. Okay. Johnny Jett's Twitter is Johnny Jett, right?
Yeah, I retweeted it last night around midnight. I was up late just watching this guy.
It's very satisfying, but again, it's illegal. Just want to say.
Yeah, but you know what? These robocalls drive me nuts.
I agree.
And I just think it's great that someone's getting some revenge on them.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about travel. So I have an app, if you're going to Canada, hopefully to celebrate the Raptors win, which you probably will not be.
Quiet. Ixnay on the Aptors Ray. Okay. You
have to be happy for Canada.
I am. I spent enough time in Toronto to actually be very happy for the Raptors.
My wife's Canadian.
They won fair and square. You got to say that.
It was an amazing series. But anyway, if you're going to Canada or if you're Canadian, what you want to do is you want to download an app called CanBorder, CanBorder. I just tweeted it. I'll put it in the chat room right now. So this is the Canadian version of Mobile Passport. So, I've talked about it before on here about, if you don't want to get Global Entry or Nexus, which I highly recommend. Nexus is $50.
If you had Global Entry or Nexus, though, this would you could do that instead of CanBorder, right?
Yeah, you rather have Global Entry and Nexus, but right. Even I know some people who actually have Global Entry, and especially in San Francisco Airport, they say the Global Entry lines are so long they actually use.
They're really long. Yes.
Yeah, so they use the Mobile Passport app because it's faster. So this is a Canadian version of that, and not just Canadians. It's not just for Canadians. It's for anyone who's visiting Canada, except if you're traveling with a minor or if you're if you have a non-machine readable travel document, and not all airports have it. So actually, I just tweeted a post that lists them all. Like in Toronto, it's only Terminal 3, which is where American Airlines and WestJet go out of. It's not where Air Canada goes out of. So look before you do it. But when you download this app, which is free, by the way, on Android, iOS, and BlackBerry in true Canadian fashion, you don't need to fill out the paper form.
Oh.
So it saves you time, saves you hassle. Try to get one of those pens. And by the way, I was just reading an article about one of the dirtiest things on a plane is sharing pens. When the flight attendants are passing around, we don't have a pen, so ask your neighbor. I just read an article recently saying, there are a lot of germs in those pens, so be careful about that. So this is another reason why you might want to download it. So the CAN border e-declaration is what it's called.
Nice.
We got time for more?
30 seconds. What can you do?
30
in 30 seconds.
I'll save this one for. This is what I'd rather talk a little bit longer about, so I'll save it for next week.
Okay.
But anyway,
awesome.
do you have any more?
Johnny Jett. You follow him on Twitter at Johnny Jett, Instagram Johnny Jett for great travel pictures. You're going somewhere over the border, over the ocean.
Me, I'm going to Florida.
Oh, Florida for Father's Day because that's where Dad is.
My dad is
Johnny's
90 years old.
Such a
I
good
got to take
boy.
good care of him.
Oh, he's a great guy too. Thank you, Johnny Jett. Next week, you could give us part 2 of your travel tip. And,
I will.
And do go to Johnny Cash Has Been Everywhere because it's hysterical. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls coming up in just a bit. Stay right here. I got to watch this. So it's on your Twitter feed, this video of this guy?
Yes. Let me see if I can.
You tweet a lot, man.
I do. Especially yesterday, I tweeted a lot.
You tweeted like crazy, man.
Well, yesterday I co-host a travel.
Oh, you do that Twitter thing on it. Yeah.
Every Friday, although we're taking the summer off. So, where did I do this? Yeah, 12 hours ago. Jim is my hero is what it says in CBS News.
I'm surprised CBS broadcast this. This is absolutely not advised. There he is. Okay. Absolutely not advised. Yeah. So this is the guy.
But he pinned, and actually he has a version that doesn't.
Yeah, this is so illegal.
He says with YouTube he has to blur everyone's faces, but he has a version where he took out the blurs and he has everyone's name. He hacked into their wedding photos, put them up because these guys were doing some sinister stuff.
So it wasn't CBS Network. It was your local CBS that did.
No, this was CBS National.
Like on the nightly news?
I think it was the evening news.
Really?
Yeah. That's who. It was either the morning news or national news. I'm looking real quick.
This is not the kind of behavior.
CBS This Morning is who did it.
It's definitely not the kind of stuff you want to promote in any way. This kind of behavior. Okay, whatever.
Listen, these hackers.
They're bad people, right? Why don't we just go murder them?
Well, that's not a bad idea. They would go. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
They would take over someone's computer and they would say, "We now have."
I understand they're bad people. I completely understand you're bad people. This is not a good idea in any respect. It's illegal. Right. It's a felony.
Listen, before he even posted it, he said he reported it to the Indian cyber police, and they never responded. Yes. CBS said they never responded to them. So it's like, I don't know. The robocalls got to stop.
Yeah, but it's a felony to do what he did. Just want you to know.
Okay, well, I think he's based in the UK by his accent.
Yeah, okay.
So, but I'm sure
and there's absolutely no way to verify this is real.
True.
You don't think they could fake this? Somebody could fake this easily?
You watch it and let me know.
I'm watching it. It's totally fakeable. I don't believe anything I see on YouTube.
Okay. Well,
I think it's irresponsible of CBS to promote this kind of behavior. But people can't. The good news is most people can't. They don't have the skills to do it. But that's also part of the problem because you know what the biggest problem is with the Nigerian scam is?
Yep. What's that?
People going to Nigeria to track down the guy who robbed them. Read some of the articles about these people.
Well, that's a problem.
Yeah, don't do that.
I would love to do it. You would never do it. And never want to. If someone steals your phone, you don't want to use the find folder to find your phone.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Shot.
Yeah.
But
I'm just saying.
Vigilante
justice is not a good idea. Anyway, thanks, Johnny. Have a good one. Have fun in your travels. Have a nice Father's Day with Dad. All right, see ya. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. Scott in Hesperia, California. Hey, Scott. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. Thanks for taking the call.
My pleasure.
I have been listening to you. I don't think I've missed a show since I found you shortly after you started on KFI.
My God.
I remember you answering questions about what happened to Jeff Levy. So,
yes, that's 1,600 episodes ago, my friend. You deserve a pat in the back. Thank you very much. Very, very much. I really appreciate it.
Well, which makes this a weird question. Last week, there was a reference to Remote PC, and that they were a sponsor.
Yes.
I've never heard of them before, and I don't know how I missed them. I think you've done 2 of their ads today.
Yeah, you aren't listening as carefully as you ought to.
I guess not.
It's the same people who own iDrive. So they've been around. I'm sure you've heard of iDrive. They've been around for a very long time. And, Remote PC has been a sponsor for more than a year now, I think.
Oh, my gosh. Is it only on the radio, not on the podcast?
Yes, it's only on the radio. So there's different advertisers for the podcast than for the radio.
Right.
And there's different advertisers for the national show and the local affiliates. So, yeah, depending on how you listen, you will hear different ads.
Okay. Well, originally when I called, I'd never heard of them before, and I wanted to make sure I heard that right, that they were a sponsor.
Yes.
So now I trust them.
Yes. Yeah, because I'm very careful. We always vet our sponsors as carefully as possible because I don't want, I feel responsible if I introduce you to a product that doesn't work for you. I feel responsible, and I think a lot of listeners feel I am responsible. So I want to make sure if I recommend it, it's a good product.
Yeah, I listen to enough of your podcasts, and if you recommend them, I know it's because you vetted them and you trust them. So that was the original reason for the call. I just wanted to be sure they really were a sponsor.
Yep.
But now that I know that, I've been with LogMeIn for many years.
Yep. They have a very similar product, yeah. In fact, there's a number like TeamViewer and LogMeIn that offered a free tier, and that's how they got a lot. That turns out to be a very good way to build a customer base. They got a lot of subscribers that way, but both of them have changed their business model a little bit over time.
Yes. So that's how I got in with LogMeIn. And then they forced everybody to LogMeIn Pro, which,
right.
I understand. I'm not at all complaining about them. I like what they do. I like the service. But over time, for computers, it's gone to $800 a year.
Wow.
And I just use it personally.
Yeah, try Remote PC. It'll be like a tenth of that.
Oh, it's $60 a year for 10.
Yeah.
That's why I had to call. I couldn't believe it was the same thing at that price.
And use that Leo offer code. You might find it even less expensive. I don't want to give them a free ad here, but there is definitely a difference in price. It makes me a little. I have nothing wrong with LogMeIn. In fact, their other product, LastPass, is also a sponsor. So they're a good company. But the same thing with TeamViewer. And I think what happened is a lot of these companies made their names and built a business by giving away the product. But you can't do that forever. And at some point, businesses have to figure out a way to survive. The general, I'm fairly close to Phil Libin, who was the former CEO at Evernote, which also had a freemium product. That means it was free, and then they tried to upsell you to a paid product. And I remember he used to tell me, we only about 5% of the people pay for it. Spotify, it's similar, about 20% pay for it. Most of these freemium services survive on the fraction of the users who pay for it. So that's why I think a lot of freemium tiers are shrinking or disappearing for a lot of products. It's just hard to make a living doing that.
I totally get that. I have no problem with it. I just $800 a year.
Well, that's for an office. That's not. Yeah, that's crazy for an individual.
Well, and that's all. I am an individual. I have reasons for doing it. But anyway, so what I wanted to ask, now that I know I can trust them, there were two things looking at their website I really couldn't decipher. The first was all of my setups are dual monitor. and I couldn't tell from their website if I can see both monitors at the same time. It says you can switch between monitors, but I want to see both at the same time. Do you know? Can they do that?
Probably not. And the reason is that's a lot of bandwidth. If both monitors are different content, you've suddenly expanded the resolution to, if it was 1920 by, if it was 1980 by 1080, whatever it was, if it's 1920 by 1080, it would now be 3840 by 1080. And that's doubling the number of pixels it has to push down the pipe. So a lot of times it might work. In fact, it should work, because it just looks to a remote PC, it just looks like a larger aspect ratio, but it might slow it down unusably.
Oh, okay.
Think about that, right? You're pushing twice the pixels. So all of these programs try to work the same way, which is only sending pixels down that are changed. But it's still on something that big. That's an awful lot of pixels. Try it. Try it. There is a menu that you can switch monitors, so if you could have one monitor and then switch to the other monitor, that would probably be a better way to do it.
Yeah. I was afraid that'll slow me down as much as latency might.
Well, I think they have a free tier that you can try. I would try that. It's a 30-day...
I was just going to ask, I wonder if I would get the same experience with the free. But I'll tell you, for 60 or whatever it is, that maybe 60 is wrong, but it's worth, now that I know I can trust them, it's worth, I'll pay for a year even if I end up not using it.
Well, I would try the free one. It's free for, life forever for one computer. Just try it and see. And then if it works,
I don't know what features you lose with the
I don't think you lose anything. They're not gonna make it too dumb.
They might not give you two monitors.
Off the top of my head, I haven't tried it with multiple monitors, so I just don't know.
Okay.
Somebody in the chat room will know. It should span the monitors. It's just a question of how much bandwidth it is. And if you have a lot of bandwidth on both ends, remember the end that you're accessing, it's the upstream bandwidth, not the downstream. So that's where people get bit. They say, well, I got 100 megabits download, but I got 1.5 megabits upload, and that's the upload is for the remote computer is what you care about.
Right.
So that's where you really can, say, oh man, that really isn't very fast. So it's worth trying. I'm pretty sure it'll work. But again, I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, well, I'll give it a shot. The other thing that
I think my memory of it is if you have multiple monitors, you can normally what you do is switch between them.
Right. That's what their website says.
Yeah. I think that's my memory of it. Yeah.
So
I'm not an expert. I use it kind of in a basic fashion. Like mostly, I use it on an iPad. So I don't have multiple monitors on the receiving end. So your mileage may vary. You have to see how you want to go forward with it. But yeah, it's about the 10th the price of Log Me In. That's a pretty good deal. Yeah, there's a broad range. I mean, there are free solutions. I should also point out there are free solutions that will do this as well, free, like VNC. But generally, the more features you want, the better the speed you want, the more you're going to pay.
Yeah, I want to pay.
Yeah,
you're talking about.
I want to pay. You're the kind of guy my advertisers like to hear from. Hey, thank you for listening to all those shows. I really appreciate it, Scott. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number, 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Our website, techguylabs.com, is free and available to all. If you hear something on the show and you want to know more, techguylabs.com. Craig is in Newport News, Virginia. Hello, Craig. Leo Laporte.
Hello, Leo. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Doing great. Hey, got a question. I have a Amazon Echo Spot that I purchased about a year ago.
Got one in my closet.
Yeah, you have one in your closet.
I do.
It's a nice little device.
My wife won't let me have it in the bedroom because it has a camera in it. So I figure,
right.
Well, if a bad guy wants to spy on me, he can watch me getting dressed.
Well, the funny thing is, I don't know if you looked at yours lately, but just last week my screen started to flicker.
Oh. Mine is not flickering.
Well, mine is flickering.
Yeah.
Did all the research on it. Did a factory reset on it. Unplugged it. Tried everything on it. Tried to dim the sensitivity because of the light. Turn that off. It flickers. So I called up Amazon or went to their tech support, and they told me to do the same thing.
And it still didn't fix it.
And still didn't fix it. Well, they checked to see, well, let's see if you're still under warranty. Well, of course, my warranty ended in February.
Yeah.
So they said, well, the best we can do is give you a 50% discount on any Echo device.
Well, that's not bad.
Not bad, but it just seems kind of funny that this happens when the new Echo Show is coming out.
I know.
One.
People always figure, things are dying because Amazon has cleverly built a time bomb into it so that the day after the warranty runs out, that's not how they make their business.
I know.
But screens flicker for a lot of reasons. Something's wrong with it. It's broken. Yeah. I don't think it's time to go with the show. Now, you might want the new little baby Amazon. That's kind of cute. What do you use it as a bedside clock, as a clock on your nightstand next to your bed?
Pretty much now it's a bedside clock.
Yeah.
I have an Echo Show in the kitchen. So I love the Echo Show, the Echo Show 2. So I love the Echo Show. My wife loves it because she can watch TV in the kitchen.
Right.
But the Spot, I'm thinking about getting the little baby one. I don't know if I'm going to get that or the Lenovo or the Google.
So that's the question is, are you all in on the Amazon ecosystem? Because there are absolutely Google assistants that are of equivalent. In fact, I think a little bit better. I'm a big fan. My bedside clock is not the Spot. That's sitting, as I said, in the closet. My bedside clock is the little Echo Home Hub. Google Home Hub. And the reason is, it doesn't have a camera.
Right.
My wife, I think probably quite reasonably, refuses to have any cameras in the bedroom. And I think that's not a bad idea. So I like the Google Home Hub because if you use Google, if you don't mind the Google Assistant, and I happen to like the Google Assistant, it has some nice features. For instance, I have a slideshow from my Google Photos. I said, I just want to see pictures of people in my family. And it's a great slideshow going back as long as I've been taking digital pictures, and it's really fun to have. And every once in a while I'll look over at it, or Lisa will look over at it and she'll say, oh, I remember that, or, oh, isn't that cute? Oh, they were babies, that kind of thing. So it's fun. Right. There is also the new Lenovo, which you mentioned. That also is a Google Assistant. It's just a clock. It's clock. I mean, it is. It doesn't have a picture. It's not a picture frame or anything, but it's smaller. It's quite a nice clock, and it has a Google Assistant. So it really kind of depends on if you're all in on Amazon, or if you don't mind having a different assistant in your house. I think it's nice to have both, to be honest with you.
Well, actually, I'm a mixed house, so I have Google's. Yeah. And Amazon in every room. So
you have both in every room. I thought that was only me that did that. I thought that was only me. So you just know, if you want to buy something on Amazon, you say, Echo, buy something. If you want to, a factual matter, I feel like Google's Assistant's a little bit better. If I want to know how many stars are in the Milky Way, I will ask the Google Assistant that, not the Echo Show. So
exactly. That's why I have it.
Yeah. So I don't think that's unreasonable, especially since both companies are so desperate to get in your house that they're practically giving them away.
Right. Plus the fact that the Wyze cams work better with the Echo Spot and Echo Show than they do with the Google Hub.
Right. And, of course, if you had Nest Gear, Google Nest Gear, it would work better with the Google stuff. Isn't that interesting how that works? Now, that's a conspiracy I'll buy into. That's very much a case, is that Amazon's work best with the Amazon ecosystem, which includes a lot of non-Amazon devices. Google has really doubled down on all their Nest stuff. They've renamed the Google Home Hub to the Nest Home Hub. Everything's Nest now. But ironically, they killed the Nest servers, and it's all using the Google Home servers. So that's a little confusing, too.
Yeah. What are we to do?
What are we to do? So do you have one that you prefer, or do you like one better than... my favorite one is the Google Home Max, which is not inexpensive, but it's the bigger speaker. It's the best speaker of the bunch. I think it competes with Apple's HomePod, actually, for sound quality. I really like it. And so that's the one I will put where I'm going to live most of the time.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having. I mean, I didn't get that one because I really didn't. We have a small apartment, so I really didn't have a place for it.
It's loud enough to bother your neighbors for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I have everything else. I have Bose everywhere, so.
Oh, nice.
It's just crazy.
I have
Harmony Hub, Bose. I'm just checked out.
Yeah, I know. It's bad. Being a geek can be very, very expensive.
It is.
Yeah, I'm sorry your spot is flickering. Mine has not had any problems. Maybe it fell on the floor at one point, or, sometimes these things just, they wear out. They're not the best screens.
Right.
So maybe just over time, it just kind of wore out.
I don't know. I checked the power plugs, because sometimes that could be it.
Right.
Check
right.
everything. And
it could be inside. This is an opportunity to take it apart.
And find out what makes it tick.
If you're a real geek, take it apart. Just unplug it first, okay?
Definitely.
And remember that
there's
capacitors in there that might hold a charge after you unplug it. So deal with it. Could bite you is the point. You're welcome. Thank you for calling. I appreciate it. Yeah, these are I love these devices. And I know that there are a lot of people worried that they're listening to you and concerned. You can now with the Echo, you could say, hey, delete that, or delete the last days or weeks or months worth of recordings, please. And I think that's a nice feature. None of these companies really want to be seen as spying on you. None of them stream everything you say, but people are, I think, not unreasonably, a little concerned about stray recordings and things like that. We know these guys wake up for no apparent reason. You're watching TV and all of a sudden my Siri HomePod will start talking. For no apparent reason. And sometimes she'll go on and on and on. I have to end up shouting, because she's in the kitchen, Siri, shut up. And then she's all butthurt and feels bad. And, it's like having another person in the house. It's like another relative in the house. Or show today. But I like the convenience of it. I like being able to talk to my house and having it respond. I like that. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number. Website, techguylabs.com. More of your calls coming up right after this. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Somebody in the chat room, I should get his name so I can give some credit, right? Or her name. In the chat room, sent us a link to a YouTube video. Thank you. About flickering on an Echo Show. In this case, an Echo Show, but it might be true for an Echo Spot. A failure, I guess. Scooter X. Thank you, Scooter X, our chat mod. A failure in the Echo light censoring can cause flickering. So the trick was to turn off automatic brightness and just turn it down and see if that turns off or stops the flickering. It was set too bright, or there's a failure in the light sensor built into it, and it's causing it to flicker. That might fix it for you. So there's a good fix from our chat room. Thank you, Scooter X. David in Anaheim, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, David.
Hi. I have a quick question. We moved to a larger house, and our AT&T provided router modem combo doesn't provide Wi-Fi throughout the entire home.
Yeah, often the case, yeah.
And so we're trying to upgrade to a mesh system. I'm just curious what type of mesh system would probably be a better option?
So
for
I use two in my home right now. These ideas, these mesh systems, in the old days when you had this problem, you'd buy an extender, right? So you'd get the same brand as the router and you'd put it somewhere else. But the drawback with an extender is it halves the Wi-Fi speed because an extender typically does not operate in full duplex mode. It operates in half duplex mode, which means it's spending half the time talking to the base station and half the time talking to you, which means half the time it's not operating. In other words, it's half the speed. So these mesh routers were created based on something that most businesses use. We've used mesh routers from Ubiquiti. We're using Ruckus right now in our business for years. Because businesses often had not only big facilities, but lots of devices on those. But the problem with these enterprise systems, they were very complicated. You needed an IT department to set them up and run them. So companies came along to do this for the end user. I think the first of these was a company called Eero. Eero is a sponsor of some of our podcasts. I'm very familiar with them. I use them at home. But now everybody makes a mesh router. Linksys makes it. Netgear makes it. All the big router manufacturers make mesh routers. And I think any of them is better than a single base unit. Typically, what we typically say is each station on a mesh system covers about 1,500 square feet. But it's more complicated than that. It has to do with the number of devices. Mesh routers generally are smarter about shaping bandwidth, so the devices like your streaming TV that need more continuous bandwidth will get it, while devices that are just getting email might get less continuous bandwidth, things like that. They're also, and I think this is really important in this day and age, modern mesh routers, actually most modern routers, they're updated automatically. This is really important. And companies like Eero are constantly tweaking their router, not only to make it more performant, but also to fix potential security flaws. And I think that's really important. A router is the gateway into your house. It needs to be secure. So Eero is a very good choice. I use that at home. I also, if raw speed is the issue, and you don't care so much about additional features, I use a Netgear Orbi for our second network, and I find that works quite well as well. That's probably the speed demon in the bunch, but it doesn't do as much bandwidth shaping. It doesn't have, Eero has Eero Plus, which is a $100 add-on, $100 a year add-on that filters out inappropriate content for your kids. It filters out malware for all of you. You can block ads as well with it. I think the Eero Plus is a very nice feature. I pay for that as well. So Eero or Orbi, both I would recommend. Either one. But there are others that are probably just as good too. I just haven't tried them all. Ironically, the company that kind of started this in enterprise, Ubiquiti, makes a router that I actually don't like very much. Their home version of their Ubiquiti routers, the Amplify, is not one of my favorite. So I avoid that one. Let me just see. The Wirecutter, which is the New York Times product review site, they like the Netgear Orbi very, very much, and their runner-up is Eero. So I think we're in agreement.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're both very, very good. Orbi's a little less expensive, a little faster, but fewer features.
Got it.
Okay.
Setup-wise, it will probably be fairly easy.
Yeah, except for that your router is provided by the internet service provider, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So that's potentially a problem. Is it cable?
No, it's AT&T.
AT&T. It's UVerse, so you have to use. Yeah, so you have to use their router.
Correct.
Ideally, with mesh routers, for best performance, you want them to do all the routing, because then they know everything about bandwidth, so they can shape the bandwidth better. So ideally, what you'd have is a cable modem, or in your case, a UVerse modem, but you turn off their what they call DHCP, the network address translation that all routers do. You don't only want one device doing that. You don't want both the mesh router and the UVerse router doing that. So if you could put the UVerse router, if you could turn off its NAT, its DHCP, and let the Orbi or the Eero do it, that would be better. If you can't, both Orbi and Eero will go into bridge mode, which means they don't do it. You don't want two NAT. You don't want double NAT. Because
I actually because I researched the issue because I was initially considering getting a modem and a new router.
Yeah.
But apparently AT&T doesn't the way their UVerse network is set up doesn't allow for
they won't
to use their own modem.
Yeah.
But they do have instructions on how to bypass the DCP on the website.
So if you cannot use DHCP on the UVerse but use it on one of these routers, they will perform better. It'll work much better, and everybody will be happy.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's the only complication at all. Otherwise, both of these come with an app on your phone that they can use to set them up. The Eero's, again, a little bit more feature-rich, a little bit more sophisticated in terms of setup. It'll actually help you with placement and stuff like that. The Orbi, it's hit and miss. You plug it in, see if it works. But I have to say, I find Orbi to be tops in speed. So some people, that's all they care about. And that may have to do with the feature set. Because the Eero is shaping bandwidth, it may be that it says, well, you're doing a speed test. I'm not going to give you all the packets. Somebody's watching Netflix in the basement. They're going to get the better. So maybe the raw speed isn't the best way to measure a mesh router. It's overall reliability and performance. I think the Eero is fantastic.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you.
My pleasure. So EERO.com, and Orbi is available from Netgear. That's their router. It's interesting. The Wirecutter does pick the Orbi, but also says the Eero, second generation Eero, is similar, slightly easier setup and placement. Actually, the Orbi is slightly easier setup and placement, and lack of dependence on the cloud. So. Yeah, the Eero, you have to create an Eero account and go through Eero, and I think that's important, and I think it's valuable. That's how they update it. That's how they improve your service. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. So those two are both excellent. There's not a whole lot to choose between them. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. And Eero has a page setting up Eero with the AT&T UVerse, so that's good. Well, let's put that in the show notes. Thank you, John. Yeah, that's a useful page. Disabling. Oh, yeah, if you have TV service, then you can't disable UVerse routing. That's right. As many features with UVerse TV require a wireless connection from your supplied device to work. Yeah. IP pass-through. Yeah, that's an important point for using UVerse for TV as well. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. Ask Leo, the phone number, 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. The Gizwiz, Dick DeBartolo, coming up in about 10. Meanwhile, on with the show, Alan in North Hollywood, California. Hello, Alan.
Oh.
Hi.
Hello.
Leo. Didn't mean to sneak up on you. Hello.
Oh, that's okay. I just hope you don't hang up on me because everyone else I've called has.
Wow. I would never dream of doing that. What's going on?
Well, it's a simple question, but I have not been able to look it up on the internet. When you see news articles, they often contain a video, probably from somebody at home or not paid or something like that. But when you see it, what they do is they just take the center section, make a keyhole of the entire video, so it looks like you're looking through a keyhole, and then they fuzz either side of it.
Yeah.
You've seen that in most news articles.
Oh, yeah.
I just wondered what that was called. When I call a TV station, I've had people hang up or they tell you, well, we can't give you that information. I can't look it up because I don't know the term, and it's a simple question. But
so let me get some clarification. Basically, the short answer is, I don't know if you've ever edited photos. Have you ever edited photos with Photoshop or a program like that?
Yeah.
You can do the same thing with videos. And most video editing programs will let you apply a variety of things to the video to make it look different. So I think what you're talking about, this is what the clarification is. Often when the youngs shoot video, they're doing it with their phone, and they shoot it vertically, the same way the phone is. So the video looks like you're looking through a door, right? And on either side of it, there's nothing. It's vertical video. And your TV is arranged completely differently. It's horizontal. It's wider horizontally than it is vertically. So whenever they show this vertical video, TV stations try to do something to let you know it's not something wrong with their signal. So they'll put mirrored effects or something in the wings of it. Is that what you're talking about, where you see the videos in the middle and then on the wings there's reflections or something else just to let you know that, yeah, we know this picture is weird, but you're getting the full thing.
Yeah, usually it's the same. What the reflection?
Yeah, it's a blurry of the original. Yeah,
of the original. Yeah, that's it. And it's just. I wondered if there was a term for that. I find it sometimes irritating that they have those, but I understand that. But I just wondered, what do you call them? I don't know if there's shot of vertical. Is there a term for it?
I'll refer you. That's a really good question. You can do what we're talking about in most video editors. The one we use here, and we can do this because we do a lot of video in our podcasts, including a video edition of this podcast, can be done with Premiere, which is the video editor we use. It's a fairly simple thing to do. I am going to put in the show notes a link to a YouTube video that shows you how it's done. It's a fairly simple thing to do. I don't know if there's a technical name for it. I mean, the video is called vertical video, and it's very commonplace now, especially if you're showing video from social media like Twitter or Facebook. It's a very common thing. I'm getting used to it. At first, a lot of people like me who had worked in so-called, quote, I'm putting this in scare quotes, real media, we go, oh, that's amateurish to shoot it sideways like that. But honestly, I'm getting used to it. You know, I've hit people in our chat room and say, I have eyes on the left and right of my head, not the top and the bottom. Why are they shooting it sideways? But it's pretty common nowadays. So every TV station, if they're ever going to show any media from the social media, they're going to end up doing that. Mike Mann in our chat room says we call it wings or adding wings. That's certainly a way to describe it. But honestly, I don't know if there's a commonplace term because it's just something that editors do all the time. They don't want you to think, oh, the TV station is sending me something messed up. They want you to know there's a full screen here. Same thing sometimes when they show movies and you see them in letterbox, when you're looking at a film that's been shot in extreme wide, like, the old style Cinerama. When you put that on a regular TV, there'll be a black bar at the top and the bottom, right? They call that letterboxing. I don't know.
Right.
This is vertical letterboxing. I don't know if there's a way to describe that other than that.
Yeah, I just wondered if there was a term, and I never heard one, and I couldn't look it up.
Oh, I'm going to give you the term. John and my studio manager just ran in and said it's called. Okay, so there's a letterbox, right? Because you're looking through a mail slot. It's a pillar box, is what they call it. You're looking through a vertical mail slot, a pillar box. I've heard that term used. So that's that, but that doesn't explain what you're talking about, which is, well, what do they put in those black bars? They put a blurred version of the original video in there. And you can do that in Premiere. I'll put a link in the show notes to a YouTube video that shows how it's done. It's a way of stylizing pillar boxed video. How about that?
Okay.
We can make up a term. You want to make up a term, Alan? We can make up a term. Did you work in the film or TV industry ever?
No, actually I don't. I was just simply curious about it, and that's the problem when you ask someone and if you're not a professional or whatever, they They don't even want to.
They don't know what you're talking about. They're going, "What are you talking about?" And if you ask somebody under 30, if you ask somebody,
and I don't have a term for it.
Right.
So,
well, there may not be a technical term for it, but if you ever ask somebody under 30 that, they'll say, "What are you talking about? That's normal video." That's how it is. My phone is it's vertically aligned. That's how the video should be shot. And it's true when you're watching video on a phone. That's actually the normal way for video. If you ever look at TikTok or any of the things Instagram, the kids use these days, the video is always vertical. That is taller than it is wide. But it's an easy thing to get used to. And I no longer complain. I used to complain all the time. Why are these kids today? They're shooting everything sideways. Bob in Agoura Hills, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Bob.
Actually, you got Valerie.
Oh, Bob got tired of holding. He said, "Valerie, you take this."
No, because I'm more involved in it.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, our email server went down due to somebody hacking onto our email address.
Yes.
And now, ever since, we've changed servers because I don't know if he had enough equipment that could stop something like this. Since then, any of our clients that are on on a Google platform, we can get emails, but we can't reply.
Yeah. So that's because whoever's running your email service is unfortunately either using an IP address that has been used in the past for spam, and Google's saying, "I don't trust the source of this," or they aren't supporting newer standard email protocols like DKIM and SPF that validate your email. I'm going to take this one off the air because I have to take a break, but stay on the line and I'll explain a little bit more about this and why you need to either move to a different provider.
We did.
No, I know. The new provider's the problem. The new provider's the problem, and I'll explain that to you. And just hang on for a second what's going on. This is, if you use, honestly, Gmail or a well-known email provider, you won't have this problem, but it can happen with others. So it all comes down to, Valerie, it all comes down to spam being a huge problem in email, right? So a lot of companies will subscribe to things called black hole lists, which are lists of bad IP addresses that have been used for spam in the past, and just wholesale block them. Google does that with Gmail. If it's not a safe address, they will block it.
Yeah, they blocked it because whoever spammed our address, they added like warehouse.
Nope. You're not understanding me. Nope. They're blocking your IP address. Who's the new email provider? What company is providing the new email server?
HostGator.
Okay. And are they providing it from their servers or yours?
Their servers.
Okay. So HostGator is using an IP address for their server that Google doesn't like.
Oh, great.
So you moved to the wrong company.
So who should we move to?
Well, honestly, what we do, and I would recommend, is Google's own email for businesses called G Suite.
G Suite, okay.
G Suite. It's cheaper. Google manages it all. You probably use Gmail anyway. You like Gmail?
No, I use Outlook. I need Outlook because...
Okay.
Yeah.
So go to a company that provides an Exchange server. Actually, Microsoft. You could use Microsoft to do this. They would do it. Hosted email through Microsoft. I'm not sure what HostGator's doing, but it's possible. A couple of possibilities. One, HostGator may have in the past been a source for spam, and Google has decided, I'm not going to accept any email that comes from a HostGator IP address.
Okay.
Yeah. So it has nothing to do with the text of your internet address. I mean, it could if the people who so people who took over your server, did they send out mail from your address?
Yes, they sent it. They added like warehouse dash and our our email address.
Right.
And it was thousands and thousands and thousands of emails, which shut the...
So it is possible. It is possible that your email address is now on those black lists.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Because it was they added a word and a hyphen in front of our name.
But they used your domain name?
Yes, they used our name. Mm-hmm.
So everything after the @ was yours?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, they may have tarnished your reputation to the degree that Google won't accept any email from that address.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah, normally they do it by IP address, but they can also do it by email address. And so it sounds like, yeah, and that's almost impossible to fix. So, yeah, that's a tough one. How long did that go on for?
It went on for, I guess it went on, they were doing it, I guess, all week, and then by the end of it, was 2 weeks ago, by the end of it, the guy that we had, which was a small server, it shut his whole thing down.
Yeah.
He said there were thousands of emails going out a day.
His problem, of course, now is that his IP address is tarnished as well.
Well, we're not, we moved to HostGator, but what do I do for this now?
Well, unfortunately, you're on a black hole list.
Yeah.
And they don't have very good remediation systems. You're going to have to go through all of them. There's ORB, ORB, there's MAPS, MAPS. There are a number of these that Google uses. Let me see which. I wonder what Google's using. They're probably using all of them, but let me just look and see. And you have to go to each one individually and say this is what happened. So Spamhaus, SPAMHAUS, they have a policy block list. Let's see, who else does Google use? They use a composite blocking list from abuseat.org. They use SpamCop. Oh no, they don't use SpamCop. Looks like they don't use ORBs and MAPS. So what I would do is contact spamhaus.org.
Okay.
And say, we would like to get our address removed from this. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. He's the disco guy. Dick DeBartolo, Mad Magazine's maddest writer. He's also a gizmo wizard. Hence, we have dubbed him Sir Gizwiz.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And congratulations, 1,600 shows.
That's a lot. I don't celebrate anything with 2 zeros. I only celebrate with 3 zeros.
Oh, okay.
So talk to me in 400 episodes.
Okay.
People, it's funny. We have some of our shows really make a big, and I did when we first started, make a big deal out of 100 episodes. Then I realized, well, that's going to happen every couple of years.
Yeah.
So now I hold out.
Well, you're going to pass me soon.
How many Gizwiz episodes?
1,731.
Hey, when there's 2,000, I'm going to send you a cake.
Oh my God! Okay.
Yeah,
I'll start doing 5 a week.
That's the problem. You do 5. I only do 2 tech guys a week. You do 5 a week.
No, we don't. You and I did in the old days.
Oh, in the old days. You only do 1 weekly now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you slow. I will catch up with you.
Yeah, you will. You will.
You're slowing down.
Aren't we all?
That's okay. No, not me. I'm getting faster. That's
wow.
That is, by the way, Dick's great podcast. It's audio and video at gizwiz.tv. Must see TV is another way.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Talk about it. So tell me what you have. Usually you have some crazy gizmo.
Yeah, this is kind of neat. There's a show in New York every June, CE Week. It's a mini, like maybe 50, 100 exhibitors.
By the way, just briefly interpose.
Yeah.
This morning, Lisa did something that practically made me drop my Captain Crunch on the floor.
Yeah.
She said, we should go to CES this year. I said, what? And I immediately started checking out Airbnbs in Vegas.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so every January, the Consumer Electronics Show, it's a big deal. You go every year.
Exactly.
I haven't been in 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So
you don't have to bother coming to CE Week because that is tiny.
Oh, all right. But it's the same group. But they figure, hey, it's 6 months out. We should give them something.
We should do something in the city.
Yeah.
So I met the inventor of 3Doodler. Remember 3Doodler?
Oh, yeah. That was a CES favorite some years ago.
Oh, my gosh. Well, so his name is Max Bogue, Bogue. And I said, Max, you're still doing this.
How's
and he
the
goes,
Doodler?
He goes, Dick, we have a kid's version that does not get it. It's called the warm doodler. Okay, actually, it's called the doodler.
So let's explain what the 3D doodler was before we go on to the warm doodler. The idea was a pen that squirted out hot plastic, right, and would allow you to create 3D objects by just kind of
in the air.
In the air.
You start on a desk and you slowly move it up, and you can build on it. So,
but I understand that perhaps they were worried about the squirting hot plastic part of that. So this one's warm.
Yes. Well, they recommended that. I think it was for like 12 or 14 and up. Yeah. So this now is for 8 and up. But they are putting plans online so you can use your tablet or your phone, take your Doodler Start pen, and actually lay the plastic down over the plans, and then lift the plastic off and build 3D models.
What?
Yeah, so it's a very clever idea. So the pen starts at, I think, $45, but you're better off with a kit, because I was looking on Amazon. You can get an entire kit for $49. It includes different kinds of plastics. And
so
then
it looks a little bit like a soldering iron, but it takes
exactly.
little plastic rods you stick in the back.
If you're watching the video, he's holding the Pro in his hand. The little blue one on the desk is the Start. And you run around making and actually he showed me with the
and everything looks so fine and polished and so carefully made. I could see that he doodled his phone case.
Yes,
it's a little Fred Flintstone, but it's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And when he was showing also that kids could actually just draw on their hand. They don't widely recommend it, but you could draw on your hand.
So it's not hot plastic. It's just lukewarm plastic.
No, it's not. Plastic. It's just warm. Exactly.
Okay.
And so the pen itself is $49, but as I said, if you can buy a whole kit on Amazon for $49.
I think people would enjoy this, actually.
Oh, I think they would.
Yeah.
And he even showed me that they now have a ball and joint mold. So if you want to try and make your own little mechanical hands. And I was very clever. I said, Max, this is a great idea that instead of just doing the same thing, and they make a roller coaster mold.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's very clever.
So he's come up with new ways
to
spit
use
hot plastic.
Warm.
Do you have a 3D doodler? Do you have one?
I do not. I do not. I don't even have a regular 3D printer.
No, they're too hard for me. I just
what?
No, there's certain things.
You're not going to be. You'll never be in a 3D printer ad. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, says
they're just too hard.
Too hard for me.
Calibrate them, and then they get these funky things. What are you going to do with those? And I don't know. They're not for me. I've realized that the tech industry, because they're constantly looking for the next big hit, constantly spits out stuff that's not for me. It was started with 3D movies and TV. Not for me.
That was
not for me.
Yeah, it turned out that was for nobody.
Nobody makes a 3D TV anymore. I still have one. I got the glasses. What am I going to do? Nothing. I got the glasses. I threw them out. I finally threw them out. It broke my heart, but I finally threw them out. It's like I'm not. So then the next big thing was 3D printing. I've bought several 3D printers. Never able to do much with them. I think there's one in the other room just sitting there. You know what I do? I give them to schools. The schools are really happy. They're thrilled.
You know what? You give one to your dentist.
Actually, they use real one for teeth, but those are real. Those are like good ones. Those are different. They're not the
friend of mine went to the dentist, and he's an older guy, and he said, "How many weeks do I wait for this?" And he said, "How about 20 minutes? I'll make your tooth right here."
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. That's cool.
Oh,
he could have used a Doodler pen. He could have made it in 3 minutes.
Yeah. And then the guy would have a bright red tooth that looks like Fred Flintstone made it. It's great. Speaking of Fred Flintstone, if you can identify this gizmo or gadget, go to Dick's website, gizwiz.biz, gizwiz.biz. Click the what the heck is it button. Play this game. Figure out what this close-up picture of a gizmo or gadget is. You could win an autographed copy of Mad Magazine, the tongue depressor edition. That is a uvula gang of idiots. I get it.
Makes you gag.
Makes you gag. Gizwiz.biz to play the home version of the, what the heck is it, contest. Dickie D, we'll see you next week.
Okay,
have
buddy.
a great
Take
week,
care.
my friend. Thank you, all of you, for supporting the Tech Guy Show. I love doing this show. I couldn't do it without you. And, of course, my little helpers here, the elves behind the scenes. Big Pee-wee, Damien, he runs all the music. He's the musical director. We give him the baton. We put him up on the podium. We say, take it away, Big Pee-wee. Thank you, Big Pee-wee. Of course, our phone angel, Kim Schaffer. She's the one taking your calls, putting you on the air. But the most important person in this operation is you, and I thank you so much for listening. And for those of you who call, thank you. You're my co-hosts on the show. We take all these calls, all the answers to all the questions. We put them up on the website. Thanks to James DeRuvo, who's writing it all down. TechGuyLabs.com. That's free. There's no sign up. There's no charge. But it's there in case you hear something on the show and you want more information. TechGuyLabs.com. I'll be back next time. I hope you will too. But in the meantime, I'm Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Have yourself a great geek week. Bye-bye. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.